My name is Dallum. I am a Global Intelligent Automation Center of Excellence lead at Cargill. So we actually have a pretty mature RPA shop. We've been using Automation Anywhere for about 5 or 6 years and continue to scale today about 50 bots per year. Obviously, finance processes are one business function that we have a lot of automation around, but because we're an agriculture and supply chain company, we also have a lot of processes that would deal more with like order processing, order management, and those types of processes as well, and customer service. Definitely we're finding time savings as a benefit, but we also are building out a new model for our metrics and what are some different KPIs or metrics that we can use to measure the value of Automation Anywhere. One example would be a customer service rep might get a question about an order, and it's usually through email, and it takes not necessarily time, but days of duration. So it can take a good 3 to 7 business days to answer a customer's question about their order. 3 to 7 days is the manual process, and then when we automated it, it takes like hours, if not minutes, versus days. Our biggest challenge is because Cargill is an international company, we work with so many different regions that have to abide by certain local rules and regulations. And so, for instance, we don't have just one order management process at Cargill. We have probably over 100. And so to try and simplify those processes first before we automate it is probably our biggest challenge. We are talking about generative AI now and how we can leverage that. I also lead the generative AI Center of Excellence as well. We just kicked off. We have an intake process for Gen AI specifically, but the requests that we're getting in, we haven't found real solid business use cases yet. So we're still in the beginning stages of that. I would say, one of the reasons that we chose Automation Anywhere years ago was because of the security. And so Automation Anywhere versus some of the other competitors in the market, we felt that the security was really solid with Automation Anywhere. And today I would repeat that, that we stay with them as well. Well, because of that, because we need to secure both our customer and our vendor data. So we have a lot of confidential data that we work with every day. But also, Automation Anywhere has a feature where it basically is an audit tracker. And so when you build a bot, it has a trail of how you went about developing that particular bot. So we're in conversations with Automation Anywhere now about process discovery. That's an area that we need still, I think, a lot of assistance with. And there's a tool with process discovery that we are installing now, but we still haven't quite figured out how we can, what is going to be the best practice for utilizing that tool with Automation Anywhere. So we have a federated model. Our Center of Excellence, we own the platform and we build out the governance framework, and we also provide training and then any updated communications to all of the users. So some of those users sit within IT and some of the users sit within the business. I would say it's fairly easy to teach others to leverage it. They have to have an interest in learning it, but I would say it's fairly easy. Well, it only takes a few hours to learn it, but then it's like having that hands-on experience. That's what takes a little bit longer. It's something that I will always, I'm always looking 3 to 5 years down the road, and what do we need to be thinking about today, but what do we need to be thinking about a few years down the road, so that we're not behind the curve. We do leverage IQBot, which is a feature of Automation Anywhere. We have another tool that we leverage as well for document processing. And I want to learn more about Copilot and then the process discovery tool. And then we are part of the Pathfinder program. So it's more of a program versus a tool, but we're working with people to learn how can we scale our whole program using Pathfinder. Overall, fairly easy. We have about 265 bots in production today. Where we see a bigger challenge is on the business side, is if they change a template and then fail to tell us that we need to change the bot. But we're also looking at customer satisfaction, we're looking at compliance, we track sustainability numbers, if that comes into play. So we have a lot of different metrics that we look at versus just time. We have a use case where farmers in Asia, in the APAC region, would handwrite inventory of that particular product and then send a photo of it, and then someone would manually take that information and put it into the system or put it into a spreadsheet. We've been able to now automate that, so it not only saves time, but the data is 85 to 90% accurate versus they were talking about 60% beforehand. UiPath was one of the competitors, and we did bring on UiPath specifically for the Chinese language, but that program has not scaled like we expected, so we really are an Automation Anywhere shop. I wanted us to put together a streamlined platform versus having kind of puzzle pieces and taping them together using different vendors. I wanted us to be more streamlined and so that we don't have glitches down the road, with upgrades and version updates and that. So that's one reason that I wanted to stay with Automation Anywhere. I also appreciate that they are looking at additional capabilities within the tool, so that because as we scale, we have bigger needs. Versus a few years ago, RPA, we were still educating people on what RPA is, versus now everyone knows what it is, everyone wants it, so how do we scale it? And everything from process discovery to delivery to support. We've had really good support with them, but I know that we have weekly tech meetings with Automation Anywhere. I also have strategic meetings every week, and then also quarterly strategy planning meetings. So we have a really good support system. I would say probably an 8 to a 9. Well, we're going through the A360 migration right now. Again, the bots that we have in production are fairly complex, and so it hasn't been a real easy migration. We're getting through it, and we have a lot of support to get through the migration, but just it's really more of the complexity of our organization. Oh, I am very comfortable with being able to scale, and especially now that it's moving into the cloud. I would say probably a 7, and the only reason I wouldn't rate it higher is because COE manager, we're still not getting the full benefit from it, and the premium is a little bit. Well, we don't have the 20 million in our budget. No, it's not 20 million. That was a joke that they had on the stage earlier. We don't necessarily have the budget to bring on a full new feature. And then the process discovery tool, again, it's taking a little bit longer to implement than I thought it would.